The village believed the yellow flash died in the night of the Nine-Tailed attack. They were wrong. He was merely waiting to grow up anew. This is the story of Naruto, who inherited his father's genius and his godlike speed. What if Naruto was more like Minato? It started on a regular day when Naruto was 7 years old and hiding from villagers, after having pulled a prank, of course. When he finally thinks he shook them off, he finds a weird kunai stuck in the ground. He's in a forest area near where the famous Nine-Tailed attack occurred, so people don't generally go there, especially not when Naruto's around. He picks up the 3-pronged kunai and realizes that there are weird markings on the handle. It looks kind of like sealing jutsu. You gotta remember, Naruto here isn't stupid. He's not a genius or insanely smart, but he's not actively dumb. So I'm just gonna have him be more like his dad. Which made him realize that 1, he's the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki, and 2, this looks like a powerful jutsu that was probably lost here either during training or during an actual battle. But since no one needs it anymore, Naruto just takes it home. Naruto over the next few days is fascinated by this kunai. It keeps sitting on his counter, and he looks at it from every angle, from every side, figuring out what are these markings. He doesn't understand. He thinks about going to Hiruzen to ask him, but he doesn't want to bother the old man, and he probably wouldn't know either. So Naruto decides to do the one thing that he generally doesn't like to do, and that's go to the library to read. He first goes to the sealing techniques, as he's seen similar markings as is in the kunai in some sealing techniques. But nothing really comes up. He's never seen these markings on a kunai, especially not 3-pronged one. It's weird. He decides that it must have been from someone famous or really powerful. So naturally, he goes to some scrolls and books covering the most powerful jutsus ever, and their users. In it are all 4 hokage, but Naruto doesn't know much about the 4th. He knows that he fought the Nine-Taileds during its attack, and then, for whatever reason, sealed the beast into Naruto, and died after. So it's not like he can ask him. But when it comes to the jutsu listed under Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, there are some interesting ones. It's noted that he was indeed a sealing master, so maybe he has something to do with it. And he was famous for this technique called the flying raijin. It's explained that this flying raijin technique uses sealing techniques mixed with kunai throwing to create a space-time ninjutsu. This is it. It's exactly what I've been looking for, Naruto says. But then to the annoying part. Apparently this is an S-rank jutsu created by Tobirama Senju, the 2nd Hokage, and only ever used by the 4th Hokage, who perfected it. Not for a lack of trying either, it's just really hard. But Naruto was determined to make it work. He will try his best to use this technique, used by only Hokage, as he wants to be one himself. And so he tries his best, deciphering these sealings, and painting them himself on several kunai, some of which admittedly he stole. But alas, this is the price for power. Naruto was making progress, but it was hard. He's already spent half a year on this project, and he hasn't really gotten anywhere. He'd figure out what some of the markings mean, and was getting a lot better at drawing them consistently and quickly, but it's not like he could do anything with it. His chakra control wasn't even accurate at all. In fact, in the academy, whilst he was okay academically, he couldn't do a single jutsu, not even the clone jutsu that was required to pass as a genin. Another year passed, and Naruto stopped doing these pranks altogether, and he actually got a lot quieter and more reserved. This flying raijin technique was taking up all of his free time, but truthfully, he was actually paying attention in the academy too. He was about middle of the group. He wasn't anything crazy, but he was good academically. Just, no chakra control. But he was finally making some progress on the flying raijin. He now understood the theory of how to use it, as well as the theory of how to pour chakra into this jutsu and what to do after. The only thing he needed now was to be able to properly use his chakra. That was the next hurdle. He tried understanding, why can't I use my chakra like everyone else? I'm not stupid. Then it dawned on him, the one thing that was separating him from everyone else was him being the Jinchuriki. He tried reading up on Jinchuriki, though there wasn't that much. He knew someone called Kushina Uzumaki was a Jinchuriki as well. Was he related to her? They were both Uzumaki after all. And before her, it was someone called Mito Uzumaki, so maybe it just runs in the family. But there wasn't much more after that. Being a Jinchuriki wasn't really a popular job, so people didn't generally like them. And no famous person was ever Jinchuriki, so it's not like we know much about them. But Naruto decided he was going to be the first. If only he understood what it meant to be Jinchuriki. He knew there was a tailed beast sealed inside him, so maybe it was possible to communicate with this beast. He was slowly understanding how to sense chakra, even if he couldn't mold it yet. He knew that he certainly, as an Uzumaki, had chakra, but for some reason, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't flow into his palms when he was trying to do a jutsu. So he understood that there is something blocking his chakra control. Something in his core, right where the tailed beast should be. So he tried his best to meditate and commune with the tailed beast. He was scared, but he needed to do this. He wanted the best chance he had at hokage, so this was a necessary step. After passing out from exhaustion after a long session of trying to commune with a tailed beast who didn't respond, he woke up in a sewer in front of a giant prison cell. In it, a 9-tailed fox. "I made it! Do you hear me?" Naruto asked. "Of course I hear you, boy. What do you want from me?" "Are you the one interfering with my chakra? If so, I need you to stop. I can't use any jutsu if you do. And I'm pretty sure if that gets me killed, that's your problem too." "Huh. You're pretty smart for a little brat. Fine. So be it. Use your little chakra. But you won't get any help from me." "Fine with me. Thanks, Foxy." "What?" But before the tailed beast was able to say anything else, Naruto disappeared. He was out of there. He was done. He got exactly what he wanted. Some of his chakra control. As soon as he woke up, he felt it. Chakra was flowing through all of his limbs. And when he tried it, he finally managed to use a clone jutsu. Now his graduation to Genin was already guaranteed. And this is when things really started picking up with speed. Naruto was finally able to actually practice the things he learned about. He practiced a lot of jutsu, but his focus was still on this flying raijin thing. And with the kunai he'd spent a lot of time painting seals onto, he tried to test them out. Not on a special training ground, he just went out to a place where he thought he wouldn't be bothered or seen. And after a lot of trying, and puking when he fell into trees, he finally managed to teleport from one tree to the next. But there were still a lot of issues. It took him a lot of time to prepare one kunai, and he wasn't very accurate at throwing them either, and he couldn't do it very far distances. Furthermore, whilst he traveled fast, it wasn't really like teleportation yet. He was sure if he was up against a strong chunin or even a jonin, they would probably still be faster than him. But he kept practicing. He had 2.5 more years until he graduated from the academy, but he wouldn't need it. Now that he was able to use jutsu, and he spent even more time dedicated to his studies, he graduated in only half a year after that. He proved that he knew the clone jutsu, as well as any academics that he needed. He was his father's son after all, even if he wouldn't know it yet. Not just graduating early, but he also impressed all of the older shinobi. He'd showed off his flying raijin a few times in spars, and that was really something. It wasn't taught to him, so a lot of people asked how he knew it. But Naruto never gave away his secret. He just said he studied hard on his own, and learned from some scroll. Naruto continued to train and improve his flying raijin, but now there was something else that caught his eye. It was called the rasengan, another one of Minato Namikaze's special moves. And if this one was so powerful, and he was able to do it, maybe he would also be able to do that one. And then, wouldn't he be just as strong as the last Hokage was? He had to know, so now he spent the next weeks and months practicing the rasengan. It focused on forming chakra into a sphere. He wasn't that great at chakra control yet, but now that he was at least physically able to, things were going in the right direction. He placed a leaf on his palm and tried to make it spin without touching it. That was the one piece of advice that was in the scroll Naruto saw in the library. And he was able to do that, but nothing more really. He tried with a pebble and even a bigger rock, and he was kind of able to make them spin, but that didn't really translate into an actual chakra sphere that would be able to hurt an opponent. As Naruto graduated early, there weren't any Genin teams he could join, or joining teachers that would want to take him up alone, so he was kind of in limbo for now. But there was one person that was willing to take him under their arm. Someone who heard about this Naruto Uzumaki, who had suddenly got a lot stronger, a lot faster, and mastered one of the 4th Hokage's techniques. The man was Jiraiya of the Sannin, and mentor to the 4th Hokage. He found Naruto training in the woods, with his flying raijin jumping from tree to tree, whilst trying to maintain a rock spinning at his palm. Was he dreaming? Jiraiya didn't see a kid, he saw Minato himself. Of course it wasn't really Minato, but it looked just like him, and he used the 2 signature jutsu that Minato did. He succeeded at one, and was trying to make progress at the other, but Jiraiya noticed that he was doing it all wrong. "Hey kid, come over here." "Huh? Who are you?" "I'm training here." Naruto was kinda annoyed whenever someone stopped him in his training, but for this one, it was worth it. Jiraiya showed him how to actually use the rasengan, and tried using his method, first with the water balloon, then the rubber ball, and finally trying to truly maintain a rasengan. And this one worked even better for Naruto. With his already limited training, he was able to do the water ball and rubber ball very quickly, and with that new understanding, he was actually able to maintain a proper rasengan, pushed it into a tree, and the tree snapped in half. Naruto, not even 12 years old now, was already a powerhouse, certainly stronger than any genin was expected to be. Jiraiya was incredibly proud of the boy and continued to mentor him, and Naruto appreciated it. Having someone who helped him train made his training a lot faster. And having someone so knowledgeable about a lot of different jutsu definitely came in handy for Naruto whenever he had any kind of question about it. And it finally got to the topic of the 4th Hokage. Naruto was very interested in, and Jiraiya was too. Jiraiya realized that Naruto wasn't stupid, so he just flat out told him, "Naruto, the 4th Hokage was your father." Is that so? Yeah, I kinda figured something like that. I figured we were related somehow. Naruto acted kinda nonchalant, but he was still caught off guard. This was his father. The one who he'd been trying to emulate all this time. The one with incredibly powerful jutsu. Made him very proud of his father, but also made him want to surpass him even more. Jiraiya agreed and saw Naruto take a new kind of motivation to his training. He tried to represent his clan, the Uzumaki and the Namikaze, realizing he was the last of both, at least that he knew of. Jiraiya mentioned that back in the day he met another Uzumaki kid, though wasn't likely to be alive anymore. They continued Naruto's training, and he focused especially on trying to mix the flying raijin and the rasengan. It allowed for really powerful combos, and Jiraiya taught him about the ways that Minato used it. Being able to take out large swaths of opponent with an incredible speed, as well as power behind the shots he needed. It eventually came time for the regular graduation of the genin. And so Naruto was offered a team in one of the Jonin teams, with Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura. He didn't particularly get along with either of them, but he knew that Sasuke was quite good, and a prodigy, though he also knew about the shame that happened to the Uchiha clan a few years back, and knew that it weighed heavily on Sasuke. It was in the bell test that Kakashi realized how truly powerful Naruto was already be, and improving quickly. He was able to use the flying raijin to even outspeed Kakashi at times. He still wasn't able to keep the bell, as Kakashi quickly got it back once Naruto took it from his hands. Naruto also tried his best to use teamwork, with the teammates he had of course. Sasuke wasn't really trying to cooperate, and Sakura didn't have much to offer, but he tried, which allowed Kakashi to pass them. After the test, Kakashi talked to Naruto. "You're really powerful, kid. In fact, you remind me of someone. My mentor, really." "The 4th Hokage?" Naruto asked. How do you know?" "Jiraiya told me." I see. So you know then?" "I do. Minato Namikaze is my father," Naruto said. "And he was your sensei, isn't that right?" "Yes, it is." "Naruto, if you need anything, if you need training, ask me. I'll help you. A favor to my old sensei." "Thanks, Kakashi-sensei, but I won't need it for now. I have a great Sani to teach me, and I love reading books." Over the next few months, whenever they weren't busy with a mission, Naruto was busy training. And in fact, he trained a lot with Jiraiya now, sparring with him. He couldn't really use the rasengan as spars, as if either of them landed a hit, it would seriously injure the other. But he tried to use his flying raijin in combat situations, flying around his opponent and hitting them in their back when they least expect it. And even though he was still less powerful than Jiraiya, naturally, he was catching up quick and was definitely above the power of a regular chunin by now. After one of the sparring sessions had concluded, Jiraiya told him, "I see Minato in you more and more every day, you know. Your mother too, but more so your father." Naruto learned a lot about his mom, but he was more so interested in his father. Of course he liked his mother, but his father was the 4th Hokage and one of the most powerful shinobi of all time. He naturally wanted to learn about that. Finally, it was time for a secret mission, the Land of Waves. But I'm not going to go into too much detail here, mostly because it happens similar to canon, just that Naruto is a lot stronger here, and smarter, so he's not so worried about these situations, doesn't freeze up as much, but really uses flying raijin to close distances fast, especially with Zabuza and Haku. which also allows him to defeat Haku quite easily, as she doesn't really have the speed advantage anymore. He's able to throw Flying Raijin right into one of the mirrors and teleport right as Haku was about to switch between two mirrors, smashing her in the face. Finally, after everything's said and done, they return to their village, with their entire team having seen Naruto's incredible power, especially Sasuke, who's getting more and more jealous. He was supposed to be the prodigy of this team, and their entire class, but somehow Naruto graduated early and now is stronger than a chunin? What the hell is going on? Before the chunin exams, was determined to become a chunin as fast as possible. Naturally, he didn't struggle much with the academics, and when it came to the forest of death, he told his two teammates to grab onto him and started teleporting faster and faster, each to the next kunai. He'd mastered throwing them right as he was starting to teleport, which means that he could keep going as fast as possible. This allowed him to finish the forest of death exam and reach the tower in less than 3 minutes. No one had ever done it this fast, but alas, no one knew the Flying Raijin during their chunin days. So Naruto was out of the norm. This also means that there was no Orochimaru encounter, as there was never a fight between him and Sasuke and Naruto. Which also means no curse mark, which also means that Team 7 is in a perfect condition to do the preliminaries as well as go on to the finals. Orochimaru is annoyed, but he knows that there will be another chance at the final of the chunin exams. There would be a month for training, in which Sasuke would be taken under Kakashi's wing. He needed this training, and Kakashi knew it. And Naruto would continue training with Jiraiya, perfecting his rasengan as well as the mix with the Flying Raijin. He spent a lot of time on these two jutsu, but they were just that good, especially when used in combination. But Jiraiya also gets an idea. Naruto is incredibly talented, arguably just as much as Minato himself, but he started training even earlier with Flying Raijin and rasengan. So what if he also started training earlier with his Sage and summoning? Minato never really used either, but maybe Naruto would if he was able to properly master them. And so Jiraiya decided that it would be best for Naruto to not only learn the Toad summoning, but also try his best at the Toad Sage mode. For the last 3 of the 4 training weeks, Naruto was in Mount Myoboku training his Sage mode, and he cut it really close. The tournament was about to start and they were about to cancel Naruto's match when he finally appeared, with some weird marking on his eyes. He used a Flying Raijin to instantly teleport into the arena, so the match would start. Him against Neji Hyuga. But it wasn't really a fight. Naruto destroyed him. Before Neji was able to warm up to 64 palms, Naruto used one of his Flying Raijin, cut right into Neji's blind spot, and pushed a rasengan with as little chakra as he managed into his back. It still sent him flying, but it wouldn't break his bones or anything. It would just send him unconscious. And with that, in less than 15 seconds, the match was over, before Neji even was really able to activate his Byakugan powers. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki! And with that, the next match was called. Orochimaru in the stands, disguised as a Kazekage, was getting furious. This brat, who'd already stolen his Uchiha Vestal first time, was definitely Minato's child. He looked similar, and he was using the same abilities, the Flying Raijin and the Rasengan. Minato had already annoyed him enough in the first life. Now his kid, this brat, was being just as annoying. Orochimaru decided it would take him upon himself to destroy Minato's legacy forever. The one who stole his dreams of becoming Hokage, who shunned him from the village. And so he changed his plan. Instead of fighting the Hokage, he would now fight this child. He still helped trap Hiruzen so he wouldn't cause issues, but then immediately went down to the arena where Naruto was still right after the battle and erected another barrier, sealing him and Naruto inside. There is no getting out, kid. This is it. You and Minato's legacy will die today. Naruto is now facing down a high Kage, arguably a Hokage level fighter. But you gotta remember, he himself is about Jonin up to Kage level. He has the Haishin, the Flying Raijin, and the Rasengan. And now he has an imperfect Sage mode which he can also use. And so he starts accumulating some chakra. He knows it's faster, so he can take some time until Orochimaru decides to attack, and then use his Flying Raijin to escape. After having gathered some chakra, and now having the red paint around his eyes, signaling Sage mode chakra, Orochimaru gets angry and decides to attack. Naruto notices a flaw in Orochimaru's plan. He still has one of the Flying Raijin that he used to fight Neji outside of the barrier. So he doesn't need to fight Orochimaru. He instantly attaches himself to the Flying Raijin and teleports out of there. Since the Flying Raijin is a space-time ninjutsu, it doesn't care whether there's a barrier in the middle. It only cares about the end destination, and that is freedom. Naruto successfully escaped Orochimaru's trap for now, but the war is still going on in Konoha, and Orochimaru isn't done yet. But that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, comment them down below, and I'll see you in the next video. This part 2 of What If Naruto Was More Like Minato. The battle follows, and Naruto, with his newfound freedom, goes to the Hokage watching box and notices that Hiruzen's in a trap. But he sees there are 4 enemy shinobi trying to keep him imprisoned. So immediately he goes to them and uses a rasengan to get one corner. Immediately after that, the purple barrier starts to disintegrate, turning more and more transparent. In the meantime, Naruto takes out the other 3 shinobi, and so Hiruzen's free to go. Along with Kakashi and Might Guy, they now combine their strength and take on Orochimaru. Hiruzen Sarutobi, seeing his student exposed and Naruto safe, sheds his hesitation and instantly engages Orochimaru, launching a fire-style attack to push the Sannin back, effectively taking over the fight, and telling Naruto to handle the invading sand forces. Naruto, operating a high-speed logic, assesses the battlefield and says there's a massive, chaotic chakra spike moving away from the arena toward the forest of death. He identifies this as Gaara from the sand, and realizes that if the One Tail fully emerges, the village will be destroyed regardless of Orochimaru's fate. It would be the Nine Tails attack all over again. Naruto thinks and decides he knows that his father used the flying raijin to fully contain the Nine Tails attack, and though it killed him, this is only a One Tailed, a much weaker tailed beast than a Nine Tails. And so Naruto decides to take it upon himself to defend the village from the tailed beast. Naruto tells Kakashi to defend the Hokage while he hunts down the Jinchuriki. A command that surprises Kakashi, but is accepted nonetheless. Using the flying raijin, Naruto's at the fight between Gaara and Sasuke in almost an instant. Which is good, because Sasuke was about to get smacked by one of Shikaku's protruding hands. Sasuke now attempts to use his Chidori, but Gaara's sand arm swats him aside fully. Before Sasuke can be crushed, Naruto intervenes and catches him, but he's still out cold. It's now on Naruto to defend the village from the one-tailed beast. Immediately he throws his raijin markers so that he'll have full control over the fight, and immediately he tries to analyze weaknesses in Shikaku's body armor. He notices that a small face of the actual Gaara is still visible on Shikaku's chest, so that's likely where his actual body is. After fighting Shikaku for a while, he notices that whatever he does, the sand just regenerates, so he needs to go after the actual body of the human. Using a flying raijin, he gets right into Gaara's face before Shikaku is able to swat him away. And using some sage chakra which he still has left, he puts a full power Chidori into Gaara's chest, or where his chest would be, he thinks. That's enough to jolt him awake and make him scream in pain, but also enough to disrupt Shikaku's control over Gaara, and thus the sand starts crumbling. But the fight isn't really over, because Shikaku, even whilst his power is failing him, is still very powerful and is trying to destroy the village. And thus, Naruto uses his flying raijin technique. Similar to when Minato teleported Kurama's tailed beast bomb, Naruto is now teleporting the excess sand, so it doesn't crush houses and other people. And thus, all that's left is Gaara at the end, with a lot of kunai thrown in the ground. Naruto is exhausted having used so much of his power in such a short time, but he was successful. No casualties, he protected Sasuke, and he defeated the one-tailed Jinchuriki whilst he was going berserk. Seeing as both Gaara and Sasuke are unconscious, he uses a flying raijin to go to Shikamaru, picks him up, and then puts him where Gaara and Sasuke were fighting, and tells him to pay attention, as well as bring both to a hospital if he can. Such a drag, he complains, but as soon as he does, Naruto's already gone. Naruto now refocuses energy on the rest of the raid, or war I guess, in Konoha. The Hokage is still safe, and Kakashi, Might Guy, and Hiruzen are still fighting Orochimaru, so that's fine. Naruto then decides to help out all the chunin that are struggling against the Sand Ninja, as well as trying to protect civilians, and uses his advanced speed to teleport the opponents, as well as teleport his own citizens to safety. After 2 more hours of fighting, after everything's said and done, Orochimaru disappeared again. And the sand lost. The Hidden Leaf village is safe again, and Naruto is crowned as a hero. He saved Hiruzen from sure destruction, destroyed the tailed beast Jinchuriki before he could ravage the city, as well as then saved a lot of civilians and their own shinobi. All the older shinobi who knew Minato himself were so proud that this shinobi was truly living up to his heritage, and especially Kakashi and Jiraiya could only think that this really was like Minato, using the rasengan and his incredible speed to save so many lives and defeat so many opponents at once. It was incredible. And so Naruto got the recognition he deserves. And also, of course, ranked up to chunin, but that's probably underselling him at this point. He did what many jonin couldn't do at this point, so people were already calling for him to become a jonin at his young age. But for now, he'd likely be the strongest chunin in the Hidden Leaf Village, and he was fine with that. The rank itself wasn't really important, it was the recognition he wanted. Naruto deep down was happy, but he kinda wished that his parents were there to see it. He hoped that Minato and Kushina, of course, were proud of him in the afterlife and saw what he did, saw how hard he'd worked to achieve this goal, and if maybe he could still become the Hokage and make his dad proud. A few days after the village was now starting to be rebuilt after the battle, there was a big funeral for all the shinobi and civilians who'd lost their lives, though it was significantly less than in canon. Most notably, the Hokage survived. People were now calling Naruto not only a hero, but the second flash of the Hidden Leaf, the yellow flash of Konoha. Even those who didn't know that Naruto was Minato's child were definitely drawing some similarities between the two. They looked similar and had exact same powers. The only real difference was their name. One was an Uzumaki and the other a Namikaze. Hiruzen did some reflection and realized that he was way too old and past his prime to be Hokage. The Hokage needed to be good at politics, sure, and he was, but they also needed to be able to protect the village physically. And after this fight, he realized that it was past his time, and so he would try to see who the next Hokage would be. Everybody was busy wondering who the fifth Hokage was going to be, but Jiraiya already got the mission. Jiraiya and Hiruzen both agreed that it should be Tsunade, mostly after Jiraiya himself decided that he wouldn't want the job, even though it was offered to him first. And so Jiraiya, with Naruto's help, sought out Tsunade for her to become the next Hokage. This time, they would not actually meet Orochimaru on their way, because he was still reeling from his defeat last time, and trying to regain his forces, as well as coming with new ploys, because clearly the last ones didn't work, mostly because Naruto thwarted them. And so, with some simple convincing of Tsunade, as well as Naruto this time that he was hit by Tsunade, didn't actually get hit because he used his flying raijin, so he was extremely impressive and reminded Tsunade of Minato, of course. That was the last straw she needed, and so she was convinced to become the next Hokage. Tsunade was crowned Hokage, and Hiruzen peacefully retired, mostly staying as a politician, but not doing much as a shinobi anymore. I mean, to be fair, he's really old at this point, so it's totally fine. He deserves a break. Now, around this time in canon, Sasuke would actually take up Orochimaru's offer and leave the Hidden Leaf to gain more power to defeat his brother. But that doesn't happen. 1, because he doesn't have the curse mark, and 2, because Konoha wasn't really destroyed, so there's no point in leaving. Furthermore, he didn't meet Kakashi when he was following Naruto and Jiraiya. So, with all those things, Sasuke has no real point in leaving the Leaf Village, and no one even gives him an offer to. Orochimaru is now focused fully on Naruto, / what he knows is Minato's son, rather than achieving a new vessel, though of course he doesn't want more power, as he might need it to defeat Naruto. So now we reach a similar point to the Shippuden timeskip, but a lot of things are different. 1, Hiruzen's still alive, Sasuke is in the village, and Naruto is a whole lot stronger. And so there's not really a 3-year timeskip in that Naruto doesn't actually really leave the village for 3 years. He does go on a bunch of missions with Jiraiya, but actually he takes up a lot of missions from the Leaf Village. Over this time he also becomes Jonin, so he's not part of Kakashi's team anymore, though still regularly does missions with them, it's just he doesn't have to. And in fact, whilst not yet, he is thinking of soon getting his own Genin students, which would definitely be a learning experience for him. Over the 3 years, Naruto has become somewhat of a legend, like his father. Not quite as much, where people are told to flee on sight when they see him, but he is famous. The second yellow flash of the leaf. And it's an open secret that Minato is his father. After about another 1.5 years, Naruto decides, since everyone knows, and he's now strong enough so that even if people come at him for it, he can defend himself, he declares himself Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, still keeping his mother's Uzumaki name, but drawing closer to his father, as that is who he's trying to model after. But not just a name, Naruto becomes so incredibly powerful during this time. Now you can truly say he's mastered the rasengan, Sage Mode, and the flying raijin. Also, he improves everything he was lacking at, including his general shinobi knowledge, his ability to throw kunai, which makes his other abilities a lot stronger, his taijutsu, as well as honestly everything else. He is very lacking at genjutsu, but he's never really needed to use it, so it's not a big issue. And for that, he generally has others in his team. So basically, Naruto is a fighting machine that can go up against just about anyone. He learned about the Akatsuki from his mentor Jiraiya, but honestly, they don't seem to be much of an issue. Orochimaru was rumored to be one of them, but he was squarely defeated and hasn't really done anything since, so he shouldn't be an issue. And the other ones haven't really done much either. Everyone's on the lookout for sure, but they're not a threat yet. And Naruto, the way he's going, in a few years, he'll be able to overpower just about anyone. Tsunade's reign as Hokage is actually very peaceful. The village is now prospering more than ever, and peace has come to the world. There haven't been any major wars or battles since Orochimaru's half-invasion of Konoha, and ties with the Hidden Sand have become much better since then, arguably better than ever, thanks to Gaara being the Kazekage and being good friends with Naruto, who often goes there. Naruto, with his immense speed, is actually a great diplomat for the Leaf Village, as he can go just about anywhere in a day or less. And with him being just the image of his father, the fourth Hokage, people respect him quite a lot, even if he didn't have such incredible power. There are some issues with the Raikage, as they still have a bitter taste in their mouth from Minato, but they are getting along just fine. When 3 years since Orochimaru's attack has passed, Naruto is widely considered the strongest Jonin in the Leaf Village. The only one who would be able to hold a candle to him are Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade, though depending on the circumstances, he would overpower them too. In fact, with his incredible power and getting stronger by the day, Naruto is actually fostering peace talks between the lands, as no one wants a repeat of the Third Shinobi War where Minato wiped out thousands of shinobi, especially not the Raikage. And so the 5 villages would try to hold a meeting together whenever there were conflicts, to try diplomacy before war. But alas, it wouldn't always work. In the shadows, the Akatsuki were plotting their next move. Over the last 3 years, they were scared to act, knowing that Naruto was becoming incredibly powerful. And now, with increased cooperation between the villages, and them keen on preventing war, it was looking like their window of opportunity was closing, and they failed. However, this was not the case, because Obito, or Toby, was feeding Pain bits and bits of information, trying to sway him to the right path, to continue on their plan. Of course, without revealing that Toby's the mastermind behind everything. They decided to send Kakuzu and Hidan, 2 of their mortal members, out for the hunt. It was the logical choice, as these 2 are at lowest risk of, well, dying because they couldn't. So they were sent in the Land of Fire to cause some issues, and just stir up trouble, make the Akatsuki feared again. Eventually, they found their way to Team Asuma, consisting of Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino, who were greatly outmatched by 2 Akatsuki members. But luckily, they weren't alone, so one chunin with them was able to go back to Konoha and alert them whilst the fight was still going on. And Naruto, when he got wind of it, immediately went over to Asuma's team with a flying raijin sooner than anyone was expecting, and he greatly tipped the scales. Hidan immediately recognized him as the second Flash of the Leaf, and wanted to retreat, but Kakuzu, sure of their immortality, wanted to stay and defeat this brat and humble him so that the Akatsuki wouldn't have to cower in fear anymore. This would prove to be a great mistake, because at the end of the day, Naruto defeated both of them easily. With Shikamaru's help, he got rid of Hidan, and Kakuzu wasn't much trouble either. With a flying raijin, he was able to outspeed anyone, and so he had more than enough time to regroup, think of a strategy, and then defeat his opponents. It was truly like the second Flash of the Leaf. With 2 Akatsuki members defeated under his belt, Naruto was celebrated as a hero even more than he was before, and for saving a Jonin and his team, Naruto was given a fat paycheck bonus for taking on such a risky mission, but it was mostly just as a thank you. Naruto didn't actually need the money at this point. Since he could do missions so quickly, money was never really an issue, as whenever he was tight, he would just do 5 missions in an hour and be done with it. Even though he was still very young, there were already calls for him to become the next Hokage. Such a prodigy was one in a generation, and so why not have him, so far the most powerful and promising next generation shinobi, become their next leader? Whilst it was Naruto's dream, he knew he wasn't quite ready yet and was not nearly experienced enough. Also, he cared mostly for the recognition of the Hokage, so the fact that people already celebrate him as a hero was almost enough for him. But instead of Hokage, he was made an official diplomat for the Leaf Village, partially due to being able to scare off other villages in case they ever got rowdy against the Leaf. And thus Naruto's political career started. Over the next year, Naruto continued to grow in more and more power and influence. Along with that, since there hasn't been any sighting of the Akatsuki, Naruto decided it was time for him to become a Jonin instructor and take on new genin of his own. He was a pretty laid-back teacher, kinda like Minato, but he was serious and very powerful. Being an instructor was almost like a checklist for becoming Hokage at some point, so he was kinda ticking that box already. Naruto, being smarter and stronger in this version, actually realized that the Akatsuki can't just be left on their own. Even though they haven't been very active of late, they need to be eradicated for peace to continue. So Naruto himself started scouting out the Akatsuki bases, starting gathering intel along with Jiraiya. And with his popularity and influence in the village, he also got a lot of other chunin and jonin, including Kakashi, Asuma, and so on, to help him on their endeavor. With the help of the Nine-Tailed chakra, he was now certainly stronger than Minato. So even though Minato was held up by Tobi, though by the way he still won, just so you know, Naruto would probably do that much easier. And so they're not very worried when there are other Akatsuki members in the hideout that they were now storming. When the Akatsuki were completely taken aback, realized what was going on, a battle ensued. Naruto immediately started fighting Tobi, who he realized was hiding more behind that mask than everyone thought, whilst other jonin like Kakashi started fighting the other Akatsuki members, Itachi, Kisame, and so on. Naruto's fight kinda went like Minato's in canon, where he used the flying raijin and the rasengan, though Obito was always phasing in and out of existence with his Kamui ability. However, with Naruto's insane amounts of chakra and speed, he was finally able to overwhelm Obito and shatter his mask with a final punch. This revealed who he really was, which changed the battle, as Kakashi was now solely focused on defeating his good friend, or former friend, Obito Uchiha. Things escalated as well as Naruto was now focused on Pain, who seemed like the second strongest member there. Obito Uchiha, who was now fighting Kakashi, was actually calling Black Zetsu to complete the summoning of the 10-tailed beast. They had to move it up, and this was not expected, but it was their best bet not to lose this fight. And so the giant Gedomasu statue was summoned, and the 10-tailed beast started emerging. There was no great shinobi army, though Naruto did mention his plans to the other 4 shinobi villages, and said that if they want to help, they were free to. So Gaara, the new Kazekage, did send some troops, though of course not a whole army. And so did the Raikage, not wanting word to break out again, as last time they got severely crippled. But those reinforcements were still in the way, and the Leaf Shinobi would have to fight on their own for now. Naruto was now finishing up with Pain, as he had the Sage mode like in canon, but he's incredibly faster here with Flying Raijin. And with Jiraiya helping him in this fight, as he's not dead, they're able to understand Pain's secret much faster, and then actually talk to him to make him stop. And so Nagato actually doesn't die here because he doesn't have to use a reanimation jutsu, but he is still obviously heavily weakened. Jiraiya, who's out of energy after this fight, now stuck with Nagato in the weird tree that Konoha made. I never really understood that, but whatever. And that left Nagato and Jiraiya some time to catch up while Naruto went back to the fight. Kakashi defeated Kisame, and Itachi now revealed that he was actually fighting for the Leaf this whole time, and stopped fighting for the Akatsuki. There wasn't time to question his allegiance, so as long as he fought for them, Naruto's team would appreciate his help. Itachi helped Kakashi fight off the rest of the Akatsuki, while Naruto now focused on the 10-tailed beast. He used the Flying Raijin similar to how Minato did to contain the tailed beast, even though this one was a really big and powerful one. Though, of course, this isn't the full established tailed beast, as he doesn't have much tailed beast chakra. The Akatsuki weren't able to gather that much, and none of the 8 or 9-tailed chakras in this beast. So this tailed beast is probably as strong as Shukaku, or maybe a bit stronger, but nowhere near as strong as Kurama or, well, the 10-tailed beast. So Naruto was certainly able to ward him off alone, though it would still be a challenge. He teleported the tailed beast bomb so it wouldn't hurt his allies, and then using some of the Sage chakra, gathered his energy to do a huge rasengan and push it into the tailed beast's chest, though that wouldn't do that much. He realized that he would have to 1. Destroy the Gedomasu statue, and 2. Defeat Obito. He didn't understand how, but Obito and this weird Black Zetsu creature were somehow helping the tailed beast continue and gather chakra. It was actually gathering some Sage chakra from the environment, so the longer this fight went on, the stronger this tailed beast became. Naruto had to do this fast. But luckily, that's his speciality. And so, for round 2, Naruto now defeated Obito Uchiha, cornering him with a Flying Raijin and then pushing a huge Rasengan into his chest. Not only knocked him out, but left him defeated. While still jumping and teleporting around with a Flying Raijin to contain the tailed beast, now he went on to the Black Zetsu. Though this was a tricky fellow as he kept going into the ground whenever Naruto got close, and then appearing somewhere else. Itachi, seeing this, helped him and used his genjutsu ability to trap Zetsu in a few seconds of genjutsu, which left him defenseless, and so Naruto was able to defeat him too, or at least that's what he thought. Now he went on to the tailed beast himself. For this, he realized that his father was barely able to contain Kurama, but it killed him in the end, and Naruto didn't want to die yet. And so he realized that the Flying Raijin or Rasengan wasn't enough. or shade chakra or anything else. He needed to use his own monster. And so he called upon Kurama's chakra, now infused with a 9-tailed beast chakra and multiple tails of red bubbly chakra visible on Naruto. He was fully powered enough and able to defeat this husk of the 10-tailed beast. For this, he didn't need Hagoromo's power or really any allies. He was enough. This is Minato and the Uzumaki's power combined. And at the end of the day, Naruto was the victor. When everything was said and done, Black Zetsu reappeared behind Naruto, daring to strike him, but Itachi realized this and used his Amaterasu flames, which Zetsu was not able to get out of. And so Zetsu, the Akatsuki, and the tailed beast were forever defeated. The 3 survivors of the battle on the enemy side, Itachi, Nagato, and Konan, were still taken as prisoners for being part of the Akatsuki, though they would have their trial and likely would get a not so severe punishment. Though Itachi was still on the ropes. He did indeed kill the Uchiha clan, there was no getting around it. And Sasuke, when he heard the news, was pissed. But when the entire group returned to Konoha, everyone seemed so happy. They'd truly done it and secured peace for another decade. When everyone understood that Naruto was truly the hero of this battle, there were now calls even from those who participated in the battle, some chunin, and even the Kakashi himself, a well-respected jonin, for Naruto to become a Hokage. And so Naruto, at the mere age of 18, replaced Tsunade as the 6th Hokage, becoming the youngest Hokage in history, likely never to be surpassed. He was seen as Minato's legacy, but also seen as having even surpassed Minato himself. He was the second flash of the leaf, the one who'd protected them all many times, and entrusted with the village's safety and security for the future. A prodigy of the new generation and herald of a new age, he would continue to invite collaboration between the 5 nations for war and battles to be contained, and in the future would be known as the Hokage of Peace, as there was no major battle or war in his day as Hokage. Minato and Kushina looked down fondly at him from heaven and awaited for their son's return to their stead. Itachi was mostly resolved of his crimes, though of course still under suspicion, but after some years of being faithful to the village, feeding them information, and trying his best to help their next generation, he was absolved of his crimes, especially with Naruto at the helm of Hokage, and Sasuke learning that it was a mission given to him by the village itself, and that he'd actually prevented more conflict that he caused. Thus, now Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, the 6th Hokage, was known as the most powerful, but not yet feared, shinobi of the land. And that is going to be it for this series. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If there are any suggestions you have, comment them down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!